Have you ever noticed how the world tells you that you need someone by your side to succeed, that you can't make it alone? But let me tell you something, the greatest breakthroughs, the strongest people, the ones who shaped history, at some point, they walked alone, not because they wanted to, but because they had to. Walking alone isn't about isolation. It's about transformation. It's about finding out who you really are when the applause stops, when the crowd disappears. Nobody is there to hold your hand. That's when your true strength shows up. That's when you learn that you're far more powerful than you ever believed. Most people run from solitude because it feels uncomfortable. What if that discomfort was actually the doorway to your greatness? What if the moments you spend alone are the moments that build your discipline, your courage, your resilience? If walking alone is not a weakness, but the exact thing that makes you unbreakable, tonight I want you to lean in. I want you to listen with every part of you, because what I'm about to share with you isn't just inspiration. It's a roadmap. Roadmap that will show you why walking alone can be the greatest gift of your life and how it will forge a version of you that nothing and no one can stop. So if you're ready to break free from the chains of needing permission, if you're ready to discover the strength that's been waiting inside you all along, then stay with me. Because by the end of this message, you won't just understand the power of walking alone, you'll feel it in your bones. There's a power in solitude that most people never tap into because they're afraid of being alone. They think being alone means being lonely, being weak, being forgotten. But let me tell you something. The truth is the exact opposite. Walking alone, stepping off the beaten path and facing the world without someone to lean on. It's in those moments that your clarity sharpens, your courage strengthens, your true self finally emerges. When you stop looking for approval from others, when you stop depending on someone else's guidance or validation, start to see yourself clearly. You start to hear your own voice, the voice that's been drowned out by the noise of everyone else's opinions, judgments, and expectations. And in that voice, you find the direction you've been searching for. Think about it. How many times have you followed the crowd because it felt safer? How many times have you allowed your decisions to be shaped by what people around you thought was right, instead of what your gut, your instincts, your own inner wisdom were telling you? Walking alone forces you to confront that. It strips away the distractions, the easy excuses, the temporary comfort of someone else carrying part of the load. When you walk alone, you face yourself fully, and that's uncomfortable, yes, but it's also liberating, because in that discomfort, you find honesty, you find truth, you find the kind of insight that changes everything about the way you move in the world. There's a reason the strongest people you've ever known have spent time alone. There's a reason that innovators, leaders, and pioneers have often had to make the hard choice to step away from the crowd, to step away from friends, family, even colleagues, to trust themselves and act on their own. That's not arrogance. That's clarity. That's confidence. That's a kind of strength you can't borrow. You can't fake it. You can't buy it. You can't inherit it. You have to build it yourself, brick by brick, step by step, moment by moment. And walking alone is the way you do it. When you walk alone, you start to understand your limits, and then you start to push past them. You realize that you don't need constant reassurance, that you don't need a safety net, that you don't need someone else to tell you you're on the right path. And once you realize that you feel unstoppable, you feel like nothing and no one can hold you back, because your strength is coming from the deepest part of yourself, not from someone else's approval or validation. That's real power. That's real independence. That's real freedom. It's not just about mental strength. Walking alone teaches you emotional resilience too. When there's no one there to soften the blows, when there's no crowd to applaud your wins or cushion your failures, you learn how to handle life in its raw, unfiltered form. You learn that pain, disappointment, rejection, they are not enemies. They are teachers. They are challenges designed to stretch you, to test you, to forge a stronger version of yourself. And the more time you spend walking alone, the better you get at learning from them, at using them, at turning them into fuel instead of fear. Now, I'm not saying that walking alone is always easy. It's not. It can feel lonely at times, and it can be uncomfortable. You'll feel moments when you question yourself, when the weight of responsibility feels too heavy, when you wonder if anyone understands what you're going through. That's natural. That's human. Here's the key. Every moment you feel that discomfort, every moment you face that uncertainty, you're growing. Every moment you resist the urge to conform, to give in, to look for someone else to carry the load, building a strength that will carry you further than you ever imagined. Imagine a tree growing in the forest. The stronger it grows, the more it can withstand storms, winds, and seasons of drought. It doesn't grow strong because it has other trees propping it up. It grows strong because its roots dig deep into the earth, because it stands on its own, because it learns to bend without breaking. That's exactly what happens when you walk alone. You develop roots, deep, unshakable roots. And once your roots are strong, no storm in life can uproot you. No opinion, no criticism, no obstacle can shake you. Walking alone also teaches you to trust your instincts, to rely on your intuition, to make decisions that are aligned with your purpose instead of your comfort zone. When you're surrounded by people all the time, it's easy to get lost in their expectations. But when you're alone, there's no hiding. There's no shifting blame. There's no taking the easy way out. You are forced to confront yourself, and in that confrontation, you discover a clarity you can't get anywhere else. You discover a power you never knew you had. And the beauty of it is this comfortable you become with being alone, the more confident you become in any situation. Walking alone isn't a sentence. It's a training ground. It's a forge where your character, your courage, and your capabilities are sharpened like a blade. Time spent here, the stronger you get, the more unstoppable you become. And when the time comes to walk with others, to lead, to influence, to inspire, you do so from a place of unshakable strength, not dependency, not neediness, but from power, self-reliance, from the kind of confidence that commands respect without demanding it. So don't fear the solitude. Don't avoid the moments when you must stand alone. Those are the moments that define you. Those are the moments that teach you who you are, what you're capable of, and what it truly means to be strong. Every step you take alone is a declaration to the world and to yourself that you are capable, that you are resilient, you are not dependent on anyone else to define your path, to validate your choices, or to measure your worth. And when you embrace that, when you allow yourself to walk alone and to truly face life on your own terms, you will discover something incredible. The person who stands before you in the mirror is stronger than you ever imagined. The challenges that once felt impossible now feel like opportunities. The doubts that once haunted you now fade in the face of your unwavering belief in yourself. You are no longer seeking permission. You are no longer waiting for validation. You are walking your own path, forging your own destiny, building a strength that no one can take away from you. And that, my friends, is the power of walking alone. Independence is not something that comes overnight. It is not a gift that someone hands to you. It is a muscle, and like any muscle, must be exercised. When you walk alone, you are forced to depend on yourself, and that is where true strength is born. You see, most people spend their lives relying on others, on friends, on family, on colleagues, on partners to make decisions, support, to validate their actions. There's nothing wrong with support, but the danger is in becoming dependent, in letting someone else determine the course of your life. When you are constantly looking for someone else to hold you up, to tell you you're on the right path, or to make the hard decisions for you, you limit yourself. You keep yourself small. You keep yourself from discovering what you are truly capable of. Walking alone strips all of that away. Suddenly, there's no one to lean on, no safety net, no excuses. The decisions are yours. The responsibility is yours. The outcome, whether success or failure, is yours. And while that may sound intimidating at first, it is also incredibly liberating. Because once you learn to stand on your own, once you learn to trust yourself, something shifts inside you. You discover that you are far more capable than you ever imagined. You discover a power that doesn't need external approval, resilience that doesn't crumble under pressure, and a confidence that doesn't need anyone else to fuel it. Independence builds inner power because it forces you to face reality without sugarcoating, without compromise. When you are alone, you cannot hide behind anyone else's strengths. You cannot blame circumstances or people for where you are. You must confront your weaknesses, your fears, your limitations. And when you do, you learn something incredible. You are capable of overcoming them. You learn that failure is not the end of the world. You learn that setbacks are not permanent. You learn that your ability to persist, to endure, to find solutions is stronger than any obstacle. Think about it this way. You depend on others for your happiness, your success, or your sense of security. You are essentially handing them the keys to your life. You are letting them control your energy, your focus, your confidence. But when you walk alone, you take full ownership of your decisions and your journey. You reclaim those keys. You are no longer at the mercy of other people's opinions or actions. You are the architect of your life, the driver of your destiny. That is empowerment. That is freedom. That is independence at its highest form. Walking alone also teaches you to make decisions without hesitation, without doubt, without needing constant validation. And that skill alone is transformative because life doesn't wait. Opportunities don't pause while you ask for permission or reassurance. Life moves, it shifts, it challenges you. And the person who can stand alone, trust themselves, and act decisively, that person thrives where others stumble. They move with clarity and purpose, not influenced by fear, not swayed by opinion, not paralyzed by indecision. That is a rare and powerful ability, and it comes only from learning to stand on your own 2 feet. Independence is not just about strength, it's also about authenticity. When you stop relying on others to define you, to validate your choices, to shape your identity, you finally get to know yourself. You discover what truly matters to you. You discover what your values are, what your passions are, and what drives you at the deepest level. And once you know that, you can live a life aligned with it. You can make choices that reflect who you really are, not who you think you are supposed to be. That authenticity cannot be taught. It cannot be copied. It is forged only in the fire of independence, in the moments when you choose yourself over comfort, when you choose courage over conformity, when you take the risk to stand alone. There's another lesson that comes from walking alone. You learn to trust your instincts, your judgment, your inner voice. When no one else is around to guide you, to offer advice, to approve or disapprove, you are forced to listen to yourself. The more you practice that, the more confident you become in your own decisions. You stop second guessing yourself. You stop seeking permission. You start to act from clarity, from conviction, the unshakable certainty that comes when you know that you are capable of handling whatever comes your way. That is the foundation of true strength, and it can only be built when you rely on yourself. Make no mistake, walking alone is not about isolation, and it's not about arrogance. It's about responsibility. It's about owning your life, your choices, and your outcomes. It's about standing tall when the world expects you to lean on someone else. It's about proving to yourself that you don't need to rely on anyone to define your worth, to create your path, or to determine your success. That realization is transformative. It changes how you approach challenges, how you handle criticism, how you pursue your dreams. It changes your energy, your confidence, your presence. You walk differently, you speak differently, you carry yourself differently when you know that you are strong because you built yourself from the ground up. Every step you take alone is a step toward mastery over your life. Every decision you make without leaning on someone else is a declaration that you are capable, that you are responsible, that you are strong. The beauty of independence is that it doesn't just make you stronger in the moment, it prepares you for the future. Because life will always test you. Life will always challenge you. Will throw obstacles in your path that cannot be solved by relying on anyone else. The only way to handle those challenges with confidence and power is to know that your strength comes from within. That's what walking alone teaches you. That's what independence gives you. So embrace the moments when you feel like you're on your own. Lean into the responsibility. Step fully into the independence that is available to you. Use every challenge, every decision, every lonely moment as a chance to build your inner power. And as you do, you'll notice something remarkable. You'll stop fearing the path. You'll stop doubting yourself. You'll stop looking to others for permission or validation. You'll move through life with a clarity, a confidence, and a strength that cannot be shaken because it was built by you for you, and it belongs to no one else. Discipline is not something that comes naturally to most people. It doesn't happen by chance. It happens when you create the environment, the mindset, and the habits that push you forward, even no one is watching, even when no one is there to cheer you on, and even when it feels easier to quit. Walking alone forces you into that environment. It forces you to face the truth if you want results, if you want progress, if you want to become the strongest version of yourself. The responsibility is yours alone. There's no one else to blame. There's no one else to motivate you. There's no one else to make you accountable. And that is precisely the moment when you begin to grow. When you walk alone, you remove the distractions, the excuses, and the influence of others' opinions. The people around you, your friends, your colleagues, even your family can unintentionally hold you back. They may have their own fears, their own doubts, their own limitations, and when you rely too heavily on them, their mindset can shape yours. When you walk alone, all of that fades. You are faced with a blank slate. You are forced to define your own priorities. You are forced to push yourself beyond the boundaries you once accepted. And in that space, you develop discipline, not as a concept, not as a theory, but as a lived experience. Discipline is not about restriction. It is about freedom. It is the freedom to choose your path and the strength to stay on it, no matter how difficult it gets. When you walk alone, you discover that freedom. You discover that the only thing standing between you and your goals is you. And once you accept that responsibility, once you embrace the power that comes from being accountable only to yourself, something incredible happens. You stop waiting for permission. You stop waiting for motivation. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You act, you persist, you move forward relentlessly because you understand that nothing outside of you can determine your success. Your growth comes from your own commitment, your own actions, and your own willingness to endure discomfort. And that discomfort is the real teacher. Walking alone is not comfortable. It forces you to face your fears, your doubts, and the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. Forces you to confront the fact that results are never instant, that success is never guaranteed, and that growth requires consistency and effort. But here's the secret: that very discomfort is what builds resilience. That very discomfort is what forges character. Every time you push through a moment of uncertainty, every time you take a step forward, when it would have been easier to give up, you are training your mind, your body, and your spirit, conditioning yourself to persevere when life gets hard. And that kind of discipline cannot be taught. It cannot be learned from a book or a speech. It must be lived. It must be experienced. And walking alone is the ultimate classroom for that. You walk alone, you also learn the importance of consistency. Growth does not happen in bursts of inspiration. It happens in the small, repeated actions, day after day, week after week, month after month. There is no audience, no applause, recognition when you are alone. And that's exactly the point. Real discipline is forged in the moments no one sees. It is built in the early mornings when you choose to rise and work. It is strengthened in the late nights when you push past fatigue. It is tested in the quiet moments when giving up would have been easier. And each of those moments, each choice to continue, is a building block that compounds into unstoppable strength. Walking alone also forces you to confront failure in its rawest form. You are surrounded by others. It's easy to mask mistakes, to shift blame, to let someone else absorb the consequences. But when you are alone, failure is yours to face. And that is invaluable because failure, when embraced, is the greatest teacher. It shows you where your weaknesses are. It illuminates the areas where you need to improve. And it gives you the chance to rise stronger than before. Discipline grows when you refuse to be defeated by failure. Discipline grows when you learn to adapt. to innovate, to keep moving forward even when the path is unclear and the outcome uncertain. Walking alone ensures that you cannot hide from failure. And in learning to face it, you learn to master yourself. Another lesson of walking alone is that it develops patience and long-term thinking. Growth is rarely immediate, progress is rarely linear. And when you are alone, there is no external pressure to perform for recognition or approval. There's no external timeline dictated by others' expectations. You learn to measure success by your own standards, to appreciate the incremental victories, and to keep going even when the results are not yet visible. That patience, combined with relentless action, is what creates sustainable growth. That is what separates those who achieve lasting success from those who burn out chasing temporary validation. Walking alone also teaches you to become resourceful. You don't have someone else to rely on. You learn to find solutions. You learn to navigate challenges creatively. You learn to harness every tool, every skill, every ounce of knowledge within yourself to overcome obstacles. That resourcefulness, problem-solving ability becomes part of your foundation. It becomes a skill that no one can take away from you, a skill that grows stronger with every challenge you face. It only comes from being placed in situations where you have to depend entirely on yourself. And let's not forget the mindset shift that happens. When you walk alone, you begin to realize that external approval is unnecessary. You realize that your growth, your discipline, your achievements are not defined by anyone else's opinion. You are free to pursue what matters to you, to challenge yourself beyond what others believe is possible, and to commit fully to your vision. That freedom is intoxicating, that freedom is empowering, and it's only available to those willing to walk the path alone, to endure the discomfort, and to trust themselves fully in the process. So when you embrace walking alone, not isolating yourself, you are investing in yourself. You are creating the conditions necessary for discipline, consistency, resilience, patience, and resourcefulness. You are training yourself to be relentless, to keep going when the world is quiet, when no one is watching, when success is uncertain. And that is the ultimate form of strength. That is the strength that cannot be shaken by circumstance, by opinion, or by challenge. Every step you take alone is a step toward mastery over your life. Every decision you make without looking for approval is a declaration that you are committed to your growth, committed to your purpose, committed to becoming the strongest version of yourself. Walking alone is not a punishment. It is not a sign of weakness. It is the proving ground, the crucible, and the forge where discipline is built. And once that discipline is built, once it is integrated into your life, you will realize that nothing in the world can stop you from achieving your vision. And that is the lesson that walking alone teaches. Growth comes not from comfort, not from crowd, not from applause, from the relentless pursuit of your potential, even when it is difficult, even when it is uncomfortable, and even when it is unseen. Walking alone gives you a clarity that is impossible to find in the noise of the crowd. When everyone is around, opinions are constantly flying. When validation is being sought from every direction, it's easy to lose sight of who you really are and what you are capable of. But the moment you step onto a path alone, something shifts. Suddenly, there is no one to impress, no one to compare yourself to, no one to influence your choices. In that space, you begin to see yourself with complete honesty. You begin to understand the depth of your abilities, the hidden reserves of strength, the resilience that lies dormant inside you, waiting for you to acknowledge it. Most people never get to this point because they fear being alone. They fear the reflection staring back at them in the silence. But let me tell you this, that reflection is not an enemy. That reflection is the gateway to discovering your true potential. When you walk alone, you are forced to confront your strengths and weaknesses without distraction. You are forced to see yourself clearly without excuses, without denial. And it is in this confrontation that real power emerges. Because once you understand your real capabilities, you can start to push the limits of what you thought was possible. You begin to take control of your life in ways that are profound and unshakable. When you are alone, there's no audience, no applause, no external pressure to validate your choices. This absence of external influence is not a void. It is a canvas. Canvas on which you can paint your own vision, craft your own rules, and define your own version of success. And as you walk that path, you realize that the person who stands before you in the mirror is stronger than you ever gave them credit for. You realize that you have survived challenges before, that you have endured hardships, that you have overcome obstacles, and that each of those moments has prepared you to handle whatever comes next. Walking alone also teaches you the power of self-reliance. You are not leaning on anyone else. When there is no support system to catch you, you learn to trust yourself fully. You learn that you are capable of making the right decisions, of taking the right actions, and of navigating life with confidence. That trust in yourself becomes a foundation that no external circumstance can shake. It is an armor that shields you from doubt, from fear, from the influence of others. And the stronger that trust becomes, the more fearless you become in pursuing your goals, dreams, and your vision. It is in the quiet moments of solitude that you also begin to notice what truly drives you. When you are not distracted by the chatter of the crowd, you hear the voice inside you that speaks truth. You hear the values, passions, and the purpose that have been there all along, waiting for you to recognize them. And once you connect with that inner compass, everything changes. Your actions become intentional. Your energy becomes aligned. Your life begins to move in the direction that you have chosen consciously, not by accident, not by default, and not by influence. That is a strength that comes only from walking alone, from taking the time to understand yourself, from trusting what you discover. Another powerful lesson of walking alone is that it teaches you resilience. When you face the world on your own, there is no one else to shoulder the burden for you. Challenges, obstacles, setbacks, they are yours to handle, and in learning to navigate them alone, you develop a resilience that cannot be replicated in comfort. You discover that you can endure far more than you thought possible. You discover that failure is not a permanent condition, that setbacks are temporary, and that each challenge is an opportunity to grow stronger, smarter, and more capable. That resilience becomes a part of you, embedded in your character. It carries you forward no matter what life throws at you. Walking alone also cultivates courage. It takes courage to stand without support, to move without validation, and to pursue your path when it is uncertain, when others doubt you, when the outcome is not guaranteed. But every step you take alone strengthens the courage. Every time you choose to keep moving, to trust yourself, and to act despite fear, you reinforce the belief that you are capable. That belief grows into a kind of fearlessness that allows you to tackle challenges, seize opportunities, and push boundaries in ways that those who rely on constant support never experience. The beauty of discovering your real strengths while walking alone is that it creates independence of thought. You no longer allow others' opinions, doubts, or fears to dictate your choices. You make decisions based on your own understanding, your own knowledge, and your own confidence. That independence of thought not only strengthens you, but also positions you as someone who others naturally respect. People are drawn to those who have mastered themselves because there is a certainty, a clarity, a power in them that is undeniable. And all of that begins when you take the step to walk alone and confront your own capabilities without compromise. As you continue walking alone, you begin to notice patterns in your behavior, insights into your strengths, and opportunities to develop skills you never realized you had. You start to see areas where you can push harder, reach further, and achieve more. And the more you explore your potential, you realize that limitations exist only in your mind, in your habits, in your willingness to believe that you are capable. Solitude strips away those limitations and shows you what is possible when you take full responsibility for your growth and trust in your own abilities. Walking alone also instills a deep sense of humility. You realize that your achievements, your strength, your resilience are products of your own effort, not of luck, circumstance, or dependence on others. That humility is not weakness, grounded strength. It allows you to learn, adapt, and improve continuously. It keeps you hungry, focused, and driven. And it ensures that every success is meaningful because it is fully earned, fully owned, and fully aligned with your true self. Ultimately, the real power of walking alone lies in self-discovery and mastery. It teaches you that your potential is far greater than you ever imagined. It shows you that you are capable of enduring hardship, facing uncertainty, and rising stronger than before. It allows you to develop resilience, courage, independence that no external circumstance can diminish. And it prepares you to step into the world with the confidence and clarity of someone who knows exactly who they are, what they are capable of, and what they want to achieve. Every step you take alone is a revelation. Every decision made without external influence is a declaration of strength. Every challenge faced without support is a building block of resilience. Walking alone is not about being lonely. It is about discovering the extraordinary strength that lies within you, waiting to be acknowledged, tested, and unleashed. And when you fully embrace the power, when you trust yourself to stand, to move, to act, to grow without leaning on anyone else, you will discover a version of yourself that is unshakable, unstoppable, and truly alive. Walking alone is not just about discovering your own strength. It is also about preparing yourself to lead, to inspire, to influence others. Every person who has ever led a movement, created change, or inspired others to greatness has at some point walked alone. It is the crucible that shapes leaders, the place where decisions are made without compromise, clarity is forged, and where courage becomes second nature. When you walk alone, you step into a space where you are forced to confront life on your own terms, to make choices without guidance, and to navigate challenges without support. In that process, you develop qualities that cannot be learned in comfort or by following the crowd. You develop leadership. There is a misconception that leadership is about having followers or having a team. Leadership at its core begins with leading yourself. It begins with self-discipline, self-awareness, and self-reliance. When you walk alone, you have no one else to manage your outcomes, no one else to carry your burdens, no one else to validate your decisions. You are accountable only to yourself. And that accountability builds a kind of integrity, a kind of decisiveness, and a kind of courage that naturally translates into leadership. You learn that when you can stand alone, you can face challenges without leaning on others. You are equipped to guide, inspire, and influence those who will eventually follow. Walking alone also teaches you empathy and understanding. When you experience life without constant support, you understand the struggles that others face. You recognize the fears, doubts, and challenges that people encounter when they feel isolated. And that understanding allows you to connect deeply with others when the time comes. Leadership is not just about giving orders or making decisions. It is about connecting, inspiring, and elevating those around you. Walking alone equips you with the insight and compassion to do this authentically. You are able to guide others not from a place of dominance or ego, but from a place of experience, strength, and genuine understanding. Another critical lesson of walking alone is the development of vision. When you are surrounded by others, it is easy to get caught up in their perspectives, their expectations, and their limitations. But when you walk alone, you are forced to clarify your own path. You are forced to envision your future without compromise. And as you take each step, you begin to see the possibilities clearly. You develop the ability to think strategically, to anticipate challenges, and to plan your journey with precision. That vision is the hallmark of leadership. It is the ability to see what others cannot see, act decisively when uncertainty looms, and to inspire confidence by demonstrating clarity of purpose. Walking alone sharpens that vision because it leaves no room for distraction or dilution of your focus. Resilience, which is forged in solitude, is another cornerstone of leadership. When you face the world alone, you confront setbacks, rejection, and hardship directly. There is no buffer, no cushioning. You learn to adapt, to recover, and to persevere, often in the face of overwhelming odds. That resilience becomes a source of influence. Others look to you and see someone who refuses to give up, who stands firm even when challenged, and who consistently moves forward toward their goals. That example inspires others to rise, to persist, to follow. Walking alone teaches you that true leadership is not about popularity or comfort. It is about strength, resilience, and unwavering commitment to a vision. Walking alone also cultivates decisiveness. When no one is around to offer advice, no one is there to validate your choices, you are compelled to make decisions based on clarity, insight, and confidence. You learn to trust your judgment. You learn to act without hesitation. And that decisiveness is magnetic. People naturally gravitate toward those who can see a path, make choices, and take action with conviction. Walking alone teaches you that hesitation and doubt are luxury items you cannot afford if you want to create impact. Leaders must act. Walking alone trains you to do just that. Independence and self-reliance, developed through solitude, also enable you to inspire authenticity in others. People are drawn to leaders who are real, who are genuine, who have faced life without shortcuts or borrowed courage. When you have walked alone, you cannot fake strength, confidence, or commitment. It is forged in the fire of experience, and that authenticity resonates. Those around you sense it. They trust it, motivated by it. And in that way, walking alone is not isolation. It is preparation to lead with power, clarity, and influence. The path of walking alone also teaches humility. You realize that leadership is not about ego, attention, or accolades. It is about responsibility, service, and contribution. You recognize that the strength you develop is not a tool for dominance, but a platform to elevate others. The trials, challenges, victories you experience alone shape the character that is essential to guide, inspire, and influence. Leaders who have walked alone understand the weight of responsibility, the significance of decisions, and the impact of their actions. That awareness is what separates those who command respect from those who merely demand attention. Moreover, walking alone fosters innovation. When you are not influenced by the opinions of the crowd, when you are not bound by conventional thinking, free to explore new ideas, to challenge the status quo, and to take bold risks, creativity and innovation are born from independence. Leaders who have spent time alone learn to think differently, to approach problems uniquely, to create solutions that others may not envision. That ability to innovate, to see possibilities that others overlook, is a direct result of walking alone and trusting your own insight. Every step you take alone, every decision made without external influence, every challenge faced in solitude strengthens the leader within you. Walking alone is the proving ground for influence, resilience, and authenticity. It is where your character is tested, your judgment refined, and your impact amplified. The lessons learned in solitude translate directly into the ability to inspire, guide, and influence those who will eventually follow. And here is the ultimate truth. Leaders who have walked alone do not fear being alone. They do not rely on approval, consensus, or validation to act. They move with clarity, decisiveness, and unwavering commitment. They inspire others not because they seek followers, because their strength, vision, and authenticity are undeniable. Walking alone transforms you from a person who merely participates in life to a person who shapes it, leads it, and elevates those around them. So embrace the moments when you must stand alone. Embrace the path where no one else walks beside you. Those moments are not voids, they are opportunities. Opportunities to discover leadership within yourself, to cultivate resilience, to develop vision, to inspire others by example. Those who dare to walk alone are the ones who create movements, drive change, and leave legacies that endure. When you walk alone, you learn that leadership begins with self-mastery. You learn that influence comes from strength, clarity, and authenticity. You learn that courage, resilience, and vision are born in solitude. And once you master yourself, you can lead the world. Walking alone teaches you the ultimate lesson in self-reliance, that your life, your choices, and your destiny are yours and yours alone. There is a power in realizing that no one else can walk your path for you, no one else can fight your battles, and no one else can determine the direction of your life. Most people spend their lives looking outward for guidance, for support, for validation. They ask, am I doing this right? Or does this make sense? Or will someone approve my decision? And in that constant looking outward, they miss the greatest opportunity of all to look inward and discover their own strength. Walking alone forces you to stop seeking permission, to stop waiting for someone else to guide you, and to take full ownership of your life. That ownership is transformative. That ownership is power. When you walk alone, you are challenged to confront fear in its rawest form. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of uncertainty. It all surfaces when there is no one else to buffer the impact. Here's the truth. Fear is not a signal to stop. Fear is a signal to grow. Walking alone amplifies that signal. It makes you face your fears head on, to acknowledge them, and to move forward despite them. Every time you take a step forward while fear is knocking at your door, you reinforce the understanding that courage is not the absence of fear. It is action in spite of fear. That understanding changes everything. It allows you to operate from a position of strength and confidence because you know that fear is not a roadblock. It is a compass guiding you toward growth. Solitude also forces you to sharpen your focus. When there is no one around to distract you, external noise to pull you off course, you become hyper aware of your priorities, your goals, and your values. Walking alone creates an environment in which focus becomes a natural byproduct of necessity. You are forced to ask yourself, truly matters? And what am I willing to do to achieve it? And as you answer these questions honestly, you align your actions with your purpose. That alignment, that clarity, is a form of strength that cannot be taught or borrowed. It must be lived. And once it is, you begin to move through the world with an unwavering sense of direction, unshakable by outside influence or temporary setbacks. Another lesson that walking alone teaches is persistence. When you rely on no one but yourself, there is no one to bail you out, no one to pick up the pieces, no one to step in if you falter. And in that reality, you learn to persist through difficulty, to endure hardship, and to take consistent action even when the results are not immediate. Persistence is not glamorous. It is not about sudden breakthroughs or spectacular wins. It is about showing up every day, facing the challenges head on, refusing to quit. That relentless pursuit of your goals, fueled by the lessons of walking alone, becomes the backbone of your strength. Walking alone also instills humility. You begin to understand that the world does not owe you understanding, recognition, or support. You realize that every step forward, every achievement, every lesson learned is a result of your own effort, commitment, and determination. And that humility does not weaken you. It strengthens you. It grounds you. Ensures that your strength is rooted in reality and action and in discipline rather than in ego or illusion. Those who have learned this lesson find a quiet power within themselves, confidence that is resilient and unshakable because it comes from truth, not from external validation. Independence gained from walking alone also fosters creativity and problem solving. When you are not relying on others for direction or advice, forced to think differently, to find solutions on your own, and to navigate challenges in innovative ways. That kind of thinking becomes instinctive. You learn to adapt quickly, to see opportunities where others see obstacles, to create strategies that work for you. Walking alone trains you to trust your instincts, to rely on your judgment, and to make decisions with confidence. And the more you practice this, the more empowered you become. Not just to survive, to thrive in any situation. Perhaps the most profound lesson of walking alone is the understanding that strength is internal, not external. Most people measure their power by the number of supporters they have, the resources available to them, the approval of others. But walking alone teaches you that real strength is the ability to stand firm, to take action, and to remain committed when there is no one else to back you up. That internal strength becomes a foundation that cannot be shaken by circumstance, challenge, or opposition. You realize that everything you need to succeed is already within you. You just have to access it, trust it, and act on it. Walking alone also cultivates resilience in ways that are difficult to replicate in company. Challenges, setbacks, and obstacles are inevitable in life. And there will always be times when support is unavailable, when help cannot be counted on, when no one else is watching. Those who've learned to walk alone understand that these moments are not failures. They are opportunities to strengthen their resolve, to adapt, and to continue moving forward. Resilience becomes second nature. The ability to endure difficulty without reliance on others becomes one of the greatest advantages a person can possess. As you walk alone, you also discover self-respect. You realize that the person you bring to your own life matters most. Your integrity, your commitment, your consistency, and your courage become the measures by which you define yourself. You stop comparing yourself to others. You stop seeking validation. You stop settling for mediocrity. And in doing so, you cultivate a deep respect for yourself that cannot be shaken by external opinion. That self-respect is the ultimate source of confidence and strength. Every step taken alone is a step toward mastery of your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, your life. It teaches you that growth requires courage, discipline, and persistence. It teaches you that real strength is not borrowed or given. It is earned. It teaches you that fear is a signal to move forward, that failure is a lesson to absorb, that independence is the foundation of resilience. Walking alone creates a person who is unshakable, who is capable, who is empowered, and who is ready to face whatever life throws with clarity, focus, and strength. And perhaps most importantly, walking alone teaches you the beauty of your own presence. When you are not dependent on others for validation, when you are not seeking external approval, you learn to enjoy your own company. You learn to trust yourself fully, to appreciate your journey, to move forward with confidence. That presence, that self-assurance is magnetic. It influences your relationships, your work, your leadership, and every aspect of your life. It is the ultimate testament to the power of walking alone. The truth is, Life will not always provide companions, supporters, or guides. There will be moments when you must rely solely on yourself. And the person who has walked alone, embraced solitude, to trust themselves in those moments will not only survive, they will thrive. They will move with purpose, act with clarity, and face challenges with courage that comes from knowing their own power. Walking alone is not a punishment. It is a privilege. It is a training ground, a proving ground, and a foundation for a life of extraordinary strength and achievement. When you walk alone, you discover that independence is not a burden. It is a gift. It is the foundation of resilience, the source of confidence, and the birthplace of power. And once you fully embrace it, nothing in the world can stop you.